Welcome, everybody, to an exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, I have double the fun for you tonight. I have two guests, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to get right into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, I would like to introduce my first guest. At 6 foot, 245, he is a super heavyweight. He hails from Chicago, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy has 1,000 lifetime career PIMs, averaging over 5 PIMs per game. His message to the world is, I am putting the super heavyweight division on notice at IceWars 2. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. James Brook, a.k.a. Hooligan. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. It's definitely an honor to be on the show.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would like to introduce my second guest. Now, he hails from Strathmore, Alberta. He is a heavyweight. He is a pro hockey player as well. And ladies and gentlemen, he led all professional hockey players in fighting majors last year. I repeat, he led all professional hockey players in fighting majors last season. He has over 300 career fights, averaging over 5 PIMs per game. His message to the world is, I am in it to win it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Justin Schmit. How are you doing today, Schmitty?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. As you guys can see, I am double the amount of fired up because I got two competitors that are about to compete. And I said this earlier when I was with Curtis Swanson in an episode earlier. Guys, I believe August 6th at the River Cree Resort and Casino, IceWars 2 is going to be the most spectacular combat sport this year. The event is going to be spectacular. We are going to iron out all the kinks that we thought that we need to from the first one. Bro, guys, it's the second time that we're at this location. We are going to sell this thing out. The pay-per-view is going to be wild, and all the events are going to be so good. Like, it's set up really, really well. My question to you guys is, what are your thoughts on this? You guys are the fresh meat coming into this family company, okay? So, Schmitty, let's start with you, buddy. When did you first find out, and what is your connection with Mr. Parker? Because I think that might be a backstory as well.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of this. When I was a 17-year-old in junior, when Parksy fought on that first one in Prince George, I was like hammering out emails trying to get on that show, right? And then the one that you guys competed on in Finland, yeah. I was actually supposed to be on it, and then right on. And then like a week out, I took like a tune-up MMA fight against an unknown guy and got absolutely T-Rexed and put to sleep.
No
and
way.
That was in like 2010. So I didn't say anything. And like, it was just when YouTube was kind of coming out, I let nobody know that I got my head knocked off by this guy. And then like 2 days before I was supposed to fly to Finland, the promoters saw it on YouTube. And
no
we're like,
way.
Oh, we can't have you coming over here. Like you took a 7-minute nap 4 days ago.
I hear you, man. And hey, I appreciate you sharing that story, because that's a pretty cool story, bro. But like, sometimes our best stories didn't really work out the best for us. So I appreciate you sharing that personal story. So, Mr. James Brooks, what about you, buddy? When did you first find out that you were going to be competing in IceWars 2, man?
Well, I've known Amesbury for a bit here. We played together 12 years ago or so in Vermont. And he actually reached out to me about this maybe a year ago or something. I think right when it was getting started, or they were starting to put it together. And, his call was basically, hey, is this something you want to do? And my first thought was, well, I'm 35 and you're talking about getting the toughest guys that you can possibly find around to do this, and there wasn't really any incentives to it. It was just travel very far away and fight very tough guys for nothing. And, I got 4 kids. So my initial response was, I'd love to do that, but she's not going to let me do that. And so I reached out to him after I saw, the fighters and everything. And I'm like, dude, you better win this. Cause I know who a lot of these guys are. Parker was on my team for 2008 or 2009 for a few weeks. And, I played with Amesbury and I fought Tippin 5 times when I was playing in the minors. So, I just gave him a shout and I'm like, dude, you better win this, and he's like, you want the open spot? And I was like, what are you talking about? Open spot? He's like, yeah, somebody dropped out. And I was like, yeah, I want it. He's like, you got a passport? And I'm like, no. So it was a week before and it just wasn't going to happen. But ever since then, I watched the fight. I had a bunch of buddies over and we watched the first one. And I've been going since then. I got to do it. So I reached out to him and AJ and just peppered them. And I'm like, get me in this. I'll fight at heavyweight. I'll fight at super heavyweight. No way I can cut to 205, but I can fight at either of the other two. Just tell me who I'm fighting, I'm in. So AJ's been great. And he, has been communicating with me a lot and here we are. So.
Great on, dude. Now I can see now for Schmitty as well, but because you just talked, I just want to comment. I can see the passion that you guys have for this type of thing. It's exciting to me because I can read it, man, because I feel the same way, right? So yeah. I just want to point that out. That's some pretty cool stuff. So now, Schmitty, coming back to you, bud, you probably can guess what I'm about to bring up here. Dude, you led all professional hockey fighters in fighting majors last year. Now, obviously, that is an incredible feat, but you gotta tell us, man. We're all wondering, what was the number with that? What was the amount of fights?
Oh, I think it was only, the funny thing is it was only 24 majors. Like that was,
hey man, that's good. What do you mean?
But not compared to 15 years ago when I started, yeah. Like everybody, when I started in the minors, you'd look down the bench at 9 guys that you potentially had to fight. Yeah. Whereas this year, there was only one guy on every team. I fought the same guys all season long.
Yeah.
As opposed to, 2006, 2007, 2008, when it was like every team had just a lineup of guys that you had to fight, So it actually was probably like, for me to put up that number, it's actually kind of impressive. But I mean, I definitely got to give props to the same 6 guys I fought all season to put those numbers up.
Now, who was the main guy? There must have been a guy that was kind of ahead of the other guys.
There's Joe Pace, my buddy Joe Pace. He's from I think he actually is a Chicago guy or somewhere.
He is a Chicago guy.
Yeah. So him and I started the minors together. He was in Richmond and I was in Huntsville. So we've known each other for almost 20 years. And we'd actually never fought, but we'd always been buddies. And he actually tried to bring me into Port Huron a few years ago and I never ended up going there. But they were doing we played 4 neutral site games this year in Biloxi, Mississippi, because they're bringing in a team like the old Seawolves, right?
Wow.
So they're bringing them in. So they're sold out. They had 10,000 people in there.
No way.
Oh, yeah. It was packed. Like they sold it out every night. We were there on the beach. And,
wow.
And me and Pacer just the first night, me and Pacer had like a spur of the moment fight. You know what I mean? Just happened to be there. And we ended up having just an unreal fight. Yeah. So then we were playing home and home. So we were in Columbus the next night. And I was like, Pacer, I gave you a sweet one in Mississippi last night.
Yeah.
Better give me one here in front of our crowd. And we had another fucking marathon.
Nice.
So then it just turned into something.
Yeah.
Different,
that's when the rivalries start though, Schmitty, right? Like a couple good battles, man, and then everyone just expects it to continue all season. And that's the beautiful thing about being a tough guy in hockey, right? Because there's a storyline. Characters grow. Now, you mentioned he's a Chicago guy, right? So James, do you know this gentleman that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up kind of crossing paths. I don't know how often we actually played against each other growing up, but I played with him on the same team as I was on with Parker with the Chicago Blaze in 2008, and played against him when I was on Evansville. I mean, we've crossed paths a lot. We were teammates in Danville for a bit, so I know Joe.
So now, what about you two? you two in particular, because I know you guys are both like, you guys terrorized the Federal League at times, right? Like absolutely terrorized. You guys ever face off against each other?
You know, so when I was playing, you know, Joe's got like the longest hockey DB I think of anybody ever. He's played in like every league everywhere for 25 years, but you know, he was playing minor league hockey at 18, I think. But when I was playing and we were playing at the same time, he didn't do nearly as much fighting as he's doing now. He wasn't the guy. So, you know, he got into a scrap here and there, but he wasn't out there looking for it. I tried to go him a couple times, but I don't know if it was the wrong time of the game or if he just wasn't feeling it, but it just never happened. So
yeah.
You know,
So now
what about
Schmitty now?
I don't think we've crossed paths. I saw you fought Nicky Williams this year a few times, right?
Yeah, me and Willie fought
like every game, I think
half a dozen times. Yeah.
I saw a handful of those, and Nick Williams actually was my first pro fight, if you could call it that, in the AAHA or whatever the single A league was at the time that everybody was playing in. He was in Battle Creek, and I was with like a makeshift Chicago team. So caught me right at the end of my shift. I was gassed the entire fight. I could barely stay on my feet, but you know, it's I've never crossed paths, I don't think, with you, Schmitty.
Okay, right on.
Yeah,
Schmitty, I got a really interesting question for you, but before I get into that, I just want to ask James one thing. So James, how do you pronounce it? Danville or Danville?
Danville.
Danville. Now you did some work there, buddy. Right?
I was there for 10 games. I scrapped.
No, I know, but the time that you were there, I heard that there was a couple really, really good ones. Bud, do you mind talking about that a little bit?
You know, we had a short one, but a decent one with, I think his name was Lucas Schott. And it was like it started in warmups. You know, really? we're doing 3-on-2s and warmups, you know, like everybody does. Yeah. And this guy's like 5 feet across the line, like in the back of our line. So I just kind of came up to him and gave him like a stick in the butt and just like pushed him onto his side. And he turned around and just two-handed me. And, you know, big scrum conversed and everybody's yelling at each other and yada, yada. And so I just skated away. And first shift we got out there, I was like, we're going. And he obliged. And it was a quick fight, but I caught him with a couple, and we'll say I got the W on that one.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I fought Chance a few times. I think that's like my biggest claim to fame, is fighting the guy who's got more fights than anybody in the history of minor league hockey. So
he literally does.
Oh, and he hated me. I mean, he hated me. I played against them when he was in Akwesasne and I was in Thousand Island. And one of the guys, I'm forgetting his name, but he was a first line center. He skated by the bench and he had some choice words. And so I said something back and he's like, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'm, you know, 10th forward and you're first liner. Let's do it. You know, I don't even care if I get beat up. Let's go." Right. So I go out there and line up next to him, and immediately Dagenet's out there and Chance is out there, and Dagenet's poking me with his stick. And he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And Chance is coming after me. And I'm like, "Hey, listen, I just answered the bell. Like, at the time, I didn't even know who these guys were, you know?"
Yeah.
But after that, I'm pretty sure every shift I had against them, Chance was out there following me around the whole shift. Like, he didn't even let me play any hockey. So, you know.
What you were doing is you were making a name for yourself, right? You were starting the reputation up, and these guys are like, "Man, we got to stay on this guy, man. He's got the rep."
He was all over me. There's a couple of videos of him just coming up behind me and just kind of mugging me. And, you know, I'm down on my face. He's on my back, pushing my helmet off and stuff. But I mean, you know, he was a gamer. So he was like 40 and still duking it out.
I'm not going to lie. The one fight I asked you about, I had heard that something happened in warm up, right? So I was trying to squeeze that out of you. So I really appreciate you giving those details, bro. Because
I'm glad that was the one you were asking for.
Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
No, I'm glad that's the one you were asking for.
Oh, we lost them.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if we're still recording.
It's our podcast now.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, right. No, I don't think we've ever crossed paths, man.
No, I don't think so. Like, I don't know. I played in the Southern League. I played in the Central League, a little bit in the old United League.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that.
No. So
I've been, I come back and forth between work and family and kids, and
Do you know Jared Rutledge? He's a Chicago kid.
I know the name.
he was our goalie this year, but I've known him for.
You know who asked me about you was Jordan Nemanitis.
I went to Notre Dame with him.
Yeah, he asked me. He's like, you know, Schmitty, he's supposed to be fighting at IceWars, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on a podcast with him tomorrow.
I just got a pop up that says I'm the host now.
Oh yeah, all right. Schmitty cast.
Sheriff's just gonna steal it and just us fucking bullshit.
It's like that fucking Brooks guy interrupted me. Click.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if he was on his phone or if he was on the internet.
And I was talking to him before. I think his phone died while I was talking to him. So
like when you were talking to him, so he's on a computer.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, who knows? That's funny though. So what do you do for what's your 9 to 5?
I actually own a junk removal company. I
Really?
got 2 employees and they remove junk. And then I'm a hockey director for high school program. So
like junk removal, if a house is like what do you call that? Like
all sorts of different stuff. I mean, we'll do construction debris. We'll do, somebody died and they need to get rid of everything in the basement. We'll do, spring cleaning. Somebody's got a giant pile in their driveway. I mean, pretty much anything you take to the dump.
You don't have to remove bodies out of basements.
No, but my business partner's actually, he owns a funeral home. So if we ever get any calls that cross, I can just send them over his way. So, and I have done some removals with him, somebody. So, but it's usually more uncomfortable than anything because there's always people around that they just lost somebody. So you're carrying the body out and you're trying to be respectful with it. And sometimes you can't turn the way you want. You can't do it smoothly. It's like going up a flight of stairs. It's like thud, thud, thud.
Fuck, man. I couldn't do it. Dead bodies freak me out, man.
Yeah.
So I got a buddy that he owns a construction company and they gutted this hotel at the airport in Calgary here.
Yeah.
So they tore out the walls and redid all the plumbing. But the shit he found in the walls that people didn't want to take on airplanes, was fucked. So he was finding sex toys and child porn and weird shit in the fucking walls that people didn't want to get caught with on the airplane. Yeah. And I guess his boss is they're in a meeting, right? And they're like, so did anybody find any cocaine? He's like, nope. No. Turning everything over to the cops, and the cops nobody found any cocaine or any weed or anything? And everyone's like, nope.
Nope, none of that stuff. Just sex toys.
Sex toys.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you still playing hockey at all?
I got a senior A team that we take once a year. We'll take them out of town. We went to Vail last year and played the Vail Yeti home, back to back Friday, Saturday night. They're a Mountain West full check team. So try to keep it in there. But I coach Pee Wee prospects and I coach varsity high school and I'm the hockey director there. So I'm it's 5 days a week. I'm on the ice with somebody. So I can't play quite as much as I'd like to, but I always get in trouble. I can't play a men's league game without getting in a scrap. So I try not to.
I got asked to leave a men's league a couple of years ago, and it wasn't I wasn't even a dick. When I play beer leagues, I'm pretty I'll skate fast.
Sometimes it's hard to stay away from because they're looking for it with guys on your team or
they're just fucking idiots and you blow past them and they fucking two-hand you. And it's man, just because my feet move faster than your body does, my arms and legs still break the same if you fucking two-hand me.
And I don't know about up by you. I mean, you're probably in your beer league, you probably got a lot more guys who played, competitively, but beer leagues here, I mean, unless you're playing top level or something, which, you can't always do, there's all these guys who think they're tough. I mean, a guy will come in there, he'll throw a check, he'll punch you in the face. He's like, let's go. And he has no idea that you fought 300 times. And
I have no idea how to fight. He's never been in a fight.
No clue that you're about to wreck him. And then you wreck him and everybody's like, what the fuck, So we had this guy played this team and, my team's yellow, his team's black. And he's got this decked out Bruins jersey that's black and yellow everywhere, So my buddy's like, watch out for that guy. You're going to pass him the puck. And I'm like, whatever, man, it's fucking beer league. I don't care. But sure enough, first play of the game, I see yellow out of the corner of my eye. I pass it to him. He turns, goes down the other way and buries. So we line up at the face off. I'm at center and I'm like, hey bud, why don't you change the jersey? I got a smile on my face. I'm like, why don't you switch to like a black jersey? And he's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. Cause I just got the apple on your goal because you're wearing fucking yellow and we're yellow. And he's like, fuck you, dude. And I'm like, okay. And so off the face off, I just kind of followed him around that shift, giving him a little hooks and whacks and saying something back to him, you know. And he tried to go me in the first. And I'm like, hey, let's just go in the third. I'm like, I drove 40 minutes to play this game. They're going to toss us. Let's go in the third.
Yeah.
So he spends like the whole second period just running around like a fucking idiot. And I told the guys on the bench, I was like, I'm going to rip his fucking jersey off. Like, I'm just going to take his jersey like that fucking asshole, you know? So at like 4 minutes to go in the game, he comes in. Sean's texting me right now. Let's see what he says. Internet went down at my girlfriend's house. I'm pretty rattled. I'm sorry about that. We'll do part 2 in the next couple days.
Be like, text them back and be like, we're still recording.
I said, I'm like, we're still recording. But yeah, so this guy, he comes by and he slew foots my defenseman. And I mean, by slew foot, I mean, it was like
dirty.
He drove him to the ground. Dude hits his head. He's like holding his head because he wasn't expecting it. And this dude gets up and he's talking shit to this guy as he's skating away. And here I come. And he turns and I'm like 15 feet away. And I'm just like, gloves, you know, I'm like, we're fucking going.
Yard sale.
So I come in and I grab his jersey and he's got ties here. And I'm just trying to rip the jersey. Like,
tell me, he was tied down for a beer league game?
Well, he had like the ties here.
Oh, I thought you meant he was tied down.
No. He had the ties here. So I'm just trying to like rip it because I don't even care about fighting this guy. I just want to rip his jersey off for the principle effect, you know? And I'm tugging and ripping and yanking and tugging and I end up ripping it. And I'm like, there we go. And I'm trying to rip it the rest of the way off. And he sticks me right in the face. And I'm like, ooh, so I go to town on him. Fight's over like, 15 seconds later. And he's like this on the ice. So ref kicks me off. I go to get off. This guy gets up and he's screaming at the ref. Why did you break it up? And the ref's like, I didn't come here to fight. You did. So then he turns and I'm waiting outside the locker room door because they got the key on the bench and it's like right at the rink door. So he's screaming at me. He goes off on his side. Now he's walking towards me at my locker room door. And I'm like, look, buddy, you've had enough. Like, fuck away from me, man. Like, your ass right here too. Like, you stay over there. I'm going to stay over here. Like, you don't need to fight more. Like, you already got fucked up. And, so he left. But anyways, I get a call a couple of days later and it's the rink. I'm not allowed to play at that rink anymore. And police are going to be calling me because this guy's trying to press charges on me.
Oh, come on. What a
like,
fucking pussy.
He's beat up, So I get a call from this cop and he's like, so am I getting this right that you got into a hockey fight? And I was like,
guy's trying to press charges?
Yeah. So, I tell him the whole story and he's like, okay, so I don't think this is going to go anywhere. He's like, I just want to make sure I got this straight. So you're playing against a guy. He's playing a little outside the code. He asks you to fight. You tell him we can do that in the third.
Yeah.
Then you fight in the third. He loses and calls me. And I'm like, you got it.
You got it.
Like, all right. I'm probably never going to talk to you again. He got off the phone and that was the end of it. But I ran into the guy like a week later at a different rink and like, he wouldn't even look at me. It was great.
No.
This girl and everything. She played the game and she was running her mouth.
Like when you catch your dog doing something bad, it just turns.
Yeah, right. It was, but that's just one of a few. They don't really tolerate the fighting here in Chicago, and like people don't understand it to that level. There's too many casual hockey players that don't get it. They don't understand that they just slashed you in the back of the leg and punched you in the face, and now they're confused why you're.
Now they got to answer to there's repercussions to your actions.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like the nicest guy. Like I don't want to fight with anybody. I just want to get along and like let's have a beer afterwards. If you trip me, I'm like whatever. Like I don't care. But some of these guys are like pushing it. And I'm like, dude. And then I got my teammates and they're like, dude, stay away from him. He's going to fucking kill you. Like telling these guys that and they don't listen. So like, whatever.
So when I was 22, it was my second year pro. And I stayed in Colorado Springs all summer.
Nice.
And trained on the Air Force base with my teammate, like my teammate in Huntsville. His wife was in the Air Force. So I stayed, there's a bunch of us, there's 3 of us that stayed there and trained all summer. We skated.
Nice.
And we were on the base and it was like right before training camp. Like I was leaving for Denver and then the other 2 guys on my team were going to Fort Collins. Like we were playing against each other in the Central League, but we lived together all summer and then we were playing against each other. But it was like our last skate before training camp.
Yeah.
And it was like $3 or something to skate as much as you want, as long as you wanted. And there was always like Army guys coming out and skating. They're a pretty good group of guys. It was $3. And I remember, like, so you just give the rink rat your $3 and go. So one day there's nobody, like there was no rink rat there. So we're just like, well, fuck it. Well, like it's only $3. Well, we'll get them later or whatever. So we're out there and we got our shit on, and there's about, I don't know, maybe a dozen aside, and we're having a game, and this new rink rat comes out and he's like, you guys didn't pay me. And I was like, fuck, sorry, man. Like, I'll pay you after. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. And fucking Captain America on the other team with like no fucking word of a lie. Have you ever seen like the pants that the guy wears in Napoleon Dynamite, like at fucking Rex Kwon Do? Like he had those and like the hockey pant version, like Team USA, tinted visor,
white gloves.
White gloves. Like this guy, and like just fucking massive, so like he's probably like fucking secret. He's probably a Navy SEAL or something. He starts giving it to us like from the bench. Like, oh, you fucking pro hockey players come out here and just think you can run the show. And I'm like, man, there's nobody there. Like he said, it's all right. It's $3. I'm not.
And this is $3 Canadian, right?
Yeah. So that's like $1.50.
Like $1.
So this guy's losing his goddamn mind. And then I start getting fucking worked up, right? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like start yipping at him. He comes out and challenges me, and I fucking drop him.
Nice.
Tinted visors all contorted. And I felt kind of bad, right? And I'm like, oh shit. So I pick him up, like help him up. I'm like, so I'm sorry, buddy. Winds up and fucking headbutts me right in the bridge of my nose. Breaks both my orbital bones, crushes my nose. So my eyes are instantly like swelled up. I'm bleeding everywhere. Like a big shit show. So then I got to go to training camp. Like the next day I'm leaving, like first day they take pictures. So if you go back on like the old Central League pictures, I'm like my hockey card, both my eyes are fucking swelled up from getting headbutted in a fucking beer league game.
Holy fuck. Never been headbutted before. I've been kicked and stepped on.
I've been headbutted.
Great picture stepped on.
I bounced. I used to bounce a lot. So I don't know how many times I've been headbutted in front of bars.
I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago. It's like a real, you're either Irish or you're Polish. And Chicago's like real segregated by neighborhoods. So like everyone in the neighborhood's Irish. They are all like, and it's like every main street that you cross, there's like another Catholic grammar school and another public grammar school, like right next to each other. And there's like crowds from each neighborhood, it's like very, very like that.
And they don't mingle.
No. So, like some here and there. And as we got older, obviously more and more.
Right. Once you grew up a little bit.
We were always, every weekend we were fighting somebody. Whatever my total hockey fights are, I have like double that in off ice.
Totally. That's like growing up here too.
Yeah.
Like, cause there's lots of reservations here.
Yeah.
And like, same thing. Like now we get along good, but back in the day,
everybody duked it out. It was like, I'm a St. Pat's guy. He's a Notre Dame guy. Oh, we're fighting. Like, and it wouldn't just be fights. It would be like, one guy gets into it with another guy. So now all 10 of his friends are fighting all 10 of his friends. And it's like a rumble. And we would go to like house parties. And there was like one stretch. It was like 8 weeks. We went like 8 different weekends. We had like 13 fights in 8 weeks or something like that. Cause we just every week it's like, oh, he got into it with him. Well, I'm fighting that guy. Like,
that's what, like, I try to explain that even to young kids now, like on my hockey team. And like, they're like, I've never like thrown a punch in my life. And it was like, fuck, I remember some weekends, like, my poor mom, like my brothers, I'm the oldest, but my 2 brothers are younger than me. And my mom was like, I think there was a stretch of like 2 years where at least one of you guys was like in jail every weekend for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that part, because that's kind of funny that we just continued on.
Yeah. And I'll bet it's the first one he's had like that, where the people he had on just keep talking. But
absolutely, man. We'll travel safe and train hard, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too, man. You too.
Okay, later, bro. Good meeting you.
Nice to meet you, man.
All right, guys, we're going to sign off now. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.